It's 1971. A factory in Detroit is about to do something unthinkable. They're going to kill the most powerful production engine ever built. An engine that dominated NASCAR. An engine that terrified Ford and Chevy. An engine so legendary that people still talk about it with reverence over 50 years later. The 426 Hemi, better known as the Elephant Motor. 425 horsepower of pure American fury, and Dodge is about to murder it. Not because it failed, not because it was weak, but because the world changed, and the Hemi couldn't. This is the story of the engine that was too powerful for its own good. The birth of a legend. Let's jump back to 1962. Dodge has a problem. Ford's 406, Chevy's 409, Pontiac's Super Duty 421. Every manufacturer is locked in an arms race on the drag strip, and Chrysler is losing. But they have a secret weapon, the 413 Max Wedge. This thing is insane. 13.5-to-1 compression ratio. Dual 4-barrel carburetors on a cross-ram intake manifold. Forged internals. An aggressive cam that makes the engine idle like it's having a seizure. It produces 420 horsepower from a factory in 1962. The Max Wedge cars, stripped-down Dodges and Plymouths with acid-dipped body panels to save weight, start dominating drag strips across America. The Beach Boys literally write a song about racing one against a Corvette. Chrysler punches it out to 426 cubic inches, 425 horsepower. It's faster. They refine it again. Stage 3, Max Wedge. Even more power, even more wins. But then Chrysler does something absolutely audacious. They take that 426 displacement and give it hemispherical combustion chambers. The 426 Race Hemi debuts at Daytona in February 1964. It doesn't just win, it annihilates the competition. Chrysler sweeps the top 5 positions. Richard Petty takes the checkered flag with an average speed over 154 miles per hour. Ford is furious. They complain to NASCAR. The Hemi is banned for 1965. The street monster. Chrysler's response? Brilliant. If NASCAR won't let them race it, they'll sell it. To everyone. January 1966. The Street Hemi arrives. Internal designation, the A102. It's remarkably similar to the race engine. Same basic architecture, same massive aluminum valve covers, same 426 cubic inches. The changes, minimal. Compression dropped from 12.5-to-1 to 10.25. Cast iron main bearing caps instead of steel cross-bolted units. Mild camshaft for street manners. Power, 425 horsepower. 490 foot-pounds of torque. Those numbers were lies. Dyno testing showed 433 horsepower and 472 foot-pounds of torque. Chrysler underrated it intentionally to keep insurance companies and sanctioning bodies from losing their minds. Suddenly, you could walk into a Dodge dealership and order a Coronet, a Charger, or later a Challenger with a genuine race engine under the hood. The cost? An extra $746, about 33% more than the base price of some models. Very few people could afford it. Very few people were brave enough to try. Because driving a Hemi wasn't like driving a normal car. It was temperamental. It needed high-octane racing fuel. It idled rough. The insurance premiums were astronomical, sometimes doubling the cost of ownership. But if you could tame it, nothing on the street could touch you. Between 1966 and 1971, Dodge and Plymouth built just 10,669 Street Hemi engines. Total, across all models. Some years fewer than 100 went into specific models. The 1971 Dodge Super B, 22 Hemis built. Total. The 1971 Charger RT, 63 Hemis. In the entire world. These weren't just rare, they were unicorns. The perfect storm. But by 1970, storm clouds were gathering. First, insurance. Companies looked at accident statistics and figured out that young men driving 425 horsepower muscle cars tended to crash. A lot. Premiums skyrocketed, some insurers refused to cover Hemis entirely. Owning one became prohibitively expensive for most buyers. Second, emissions regulations. The EPA tightened standards for 1972. The Hemi, with its race-derived design, high compression, and need for premium fuel, couldn't meet the new requirements. Third, the fuel crisis. October 1973, OPEC oil embargo. Gas prices doubled. Suddenly, nobody wanted a car that got 8 miles per gallon on expensive, high-octane fuel. But the real killer? Market conditions. By 1971, muscle car sales were collapsing. The Hemi option cost as much as 33% of the base vehicle price. People couldn't afford it. People couldn't insure it. And the ones who could were worried about being able to fill the tank. In 1971, the final year, Dodge built just 387 Hemi engines, combined, across all models. Compare that to 1970, when they built 666. The writing was on the wall. The death and resurrection. After the 1971 model year ended, Chrysler pulled the plug. The 426 Street Hemi was discontinued, not with fanfare, not with a special edition. It just stopped. Engineers had actually designed a replacement, a lower-cost, mass-production Hemi variant with ball-stud rocker arms instead of the expensive shaft-mounted system. It would have been cheaper to build, easier to maintain, more adaptable to emissions controls. But market conditions were so dire that Chrysler killed the project. The replacement Hemi never saw production. For the next 32 years, the Hemi name was dead. Then 2003, Chrysler resurrects it. The new 5.7-liter Hemi V8. Modern, fuel-injected, variable valve timing. 340 horsepower initially, but tunable to ridiculous levels. The legend was reborn, and it kept growing. 6.2-liter supercharged Hellcat, 717 horsepower. Challenger Demon, 808 horsepower. Red-Eye, 797 horsepower. The modern Hemi engines carry the name, but they're not the 426. Nothing will ever be the 426. Nothing. So why did Dodge abandon the most powerful engine they ever built? Because it was too good, too powerful, too expensive, too extreme for a world that was moving toward efficiency, safety, and emissions controls. The 426 Street Hemi was a race engine with a license plate, a factory-built weapon that terrorized drag strips and highways across America for 5 glorious years. But the era of unlimited horsepower, cheap gas, and lax regulations was ending. And the Hemi, uncompromising, unapologetic, and utterly magnificent, couldn't adapt. Today, those 10,669 Street Hemis are worth fortunes, $500,000, sometimes more, because they represent something lost, an era when Detroit built cars not for practicality, but for pure, unfiltered speed. The Elephant motor, the most powerful production engine Dodge ever built, killed not by weakness, but by greatness.